Hey there, YouTube, and may the 4th be with you, the unofficial Star Wars day that we all know and love. In this video, I'm going to kind of walk you through all of the steps I took to be able to create some, what I'm calling my own movie stills. They're technically not recreations or any sort of movie magic, but through a combination of practical effects and just a bunch of boredom, I managed to take a model that I had my wife help me make and my large format 4x5 camera to make panoramic shots almost reminiscent of the CinemaScope from the 1970s. And of course, I used my favorite 4x5 inch camera, my Cambo SC. About a year ago, I made a video about this camera and why I like it and why I think you should get one. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link up here for you to watch. I'll also briefly talk about some of the lighting techniques I used, as well as a half-frame dark slide, specifically to be able to get that kinda CinemaScope look. Without further ado, let's begin. My wife's really good at making models, painting them, putting them together, even, making them look a little stressed. She's done some work with Gunpla and cars and even some Star Wars figurines. So naturally, I thought I'd ask for her help. I went ahead and purchased a Star Destroyer model and let her put it together, as well as paint it and do all of the stressing to make it look like it's not just a plastic model put together, but actually put some detailed work into it. While she took care of that, I used a doggy dome. I don't really know what else to call it. You see them on fence lines nowadays with the dogs sticking their head through. It's just this little acrylic bubble. I took some 320 grit sandpaper to rough up the surface. Then I used some Rust-Oleum flat white to really help pick up the projection later. You'll see what I'm talking about here shortly. I had to do a bit of prep work to get the camera set up properly, as I didn't have the marks pre-made on my camera. So what I ended up doing is I inserted a piece of white paper along with the half-frame dark slide. I then inserted the film holder into the back of the camera and then used a Sharpie to mark out where the lines would where the frame would terminate to help with framing later. Now, unfortunately, I'm not the best YouTuber here, and all of the footage I used to take and show me working, well, was all done in really dark conditions and the footage just turned out terrible. So I'm going to walk you through how I set up for each scene using the camera so you can replicate it yourself. The main accessory for this is the half-frame dark slide that I designed and printed on my Bamboo Labs A1 3D printer. If y'all want to get yourselves one of these and print it yourself, I'll leave a link in the description where you can download this for free and print it out. It fits 4x5. I also have one for 8x10, but you'll need a fairly large printer to be able to fit the 8x10 one on. Those Sharpie marks are from framing up the Star Destroyer. The technique for this is really simple. Once you've framed up the Star Destroyer or whatever model you're going to use, all you're going to need to do is insert your film holder. Make sure that it's going to be the side that you want it to be on, because some of this can get a bit tricky on making sure that you frame up. You'll remove the dark slide and insert the half frame dark slide. Once you're in position, it's just a matter of using your camera normally. Now for this setup, I did multiple exposures. I wanted to do something like Stanley Kubrick did with Space Odyssey. I photographed the ship first, and I made sure that that had the most amount of light, so it had good emphasis on its details. In order to eliminate any way for you to see the support structure that holds the model up, I wrapped it in a black cloth, and then I used a black paper as a flag to try to block out the arm. So with the light coming in at a high angle, there's still some light hitting the black cloth, but in order to completely eliminate that, the paper helps to drop that out. That's why you see that paper closer to the camera. This is just a better shot of seeing how the paper blocks out the light. I'm just using a Sharpie here to draw around to make sure the placement of where I'm going to take the first exposure. And this is my dome that I used for projecting the image of a pseudo planet, kind of a gas giant, directly onto it. I wasn't able to use the whole image here, but you can see that I used enough of it that it kind of pushes off the effect that there's a planet there. Anyways, enough talking. Let's actually see what I was able to produce with this camera. I really like the black and white shot here, but I don't think I gave enough of the exposure on the planet. The biggest issue with this, the biggest issue with both of these shots is the projector I use is a pretty low quality one. If I remember right, the internal projector module itself is only like 480p, so it's quite low on the resolution. So in order to try to hide all of the pixelation, I just defocused the image once I had it in focus. I know it's not a very elegant solution, but it helped to kind of soften up the planet a little bit. But then it made it kind of difficult to see if I was still had a good sharp terminating edge to make it look like a planet. Now the color shot. The color shot, I love it. This is my favorite shot right here. The little bit of blue that you can see on the rocket engines or the motors of the Star Destroyer, just they perfectly pops. The planet, you can see the pixelation's pretty bad, but I don't care. I love the way the ship looks. To me, this is just the perfect setup. If I could figure out how to make a better planet in the future, I think I want to revisit this again. You know, it's been a while since I played around with macro photography, and this is kind of just my jump back into it for right now, at least a little bit of a run for it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I really enjoyed I really enjoyed doing this, and you know, happy May the 4th. You know, may the 4th be with you. If you like this sort of content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. And if you're still interested in watching more of my content, YouTube thinks you might like my content, so click the link on screen. Until next time.